Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So today we're going to continue the series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today we have Crime City, released by Taito in 1989. It's basically the answer to Rolling Thunder or Shinobi, but made by Taito. And this is the same characters that exist in the Chase HQ universe. It's basically a offshoot game, and it is a side-scroll run-and-gun versus a car racing and destruction game. But it's Taito, so you know it's going to be good because it's not called Dino Rex, and that means we're going to have a great time. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. If you want to buy me a hot dog, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But all jokes aside, I absolutely love this game. It's absolutely simple to understand and pick up and play. Move left, move right, shoot bad guys, and try not to get shot yourself. But it's a very difficult game to learn and master, and that's always fun if you really want to get into the meat and potatoes of it. No, I'm not saying this is as good as Shinobi or Rolling Thunder. I would probably say this game comes third in a three-man race, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's not as good as those other two classics. But as we move into this bank here, every single stage has a different vibe to it, and it does work. And of course, because it's a Taito game, you know you're going to get an incredible soundtrack, but I'll let you listen to that in a little bit. But we don't start at the bank. We actually get chopper lifted down into traffic, and we have to fight our way there while jumping on cars. Don't know why the police wouldn't just drop you off where the crime was occurring, but on the highway. But of course, it's a video game. It has no logic whatsoever, so we really shouldn't question that. But this is the type of game that was just so big in the late 80s and early 90s. It didn't do anything new. It didn't try to be innovative. It just gave you pretty graphics, a good soundtrack, and a lot of action to run. And you'll see there that we pick up gigantic bags of white powder along the way for score. Pretty sure they probably need to put those in the evidence locker for later, but I'm assuming that a lot of those are going to go missing, and they're going to have a very big party sometime in the future. All jokes aside, I'm sure that's actually what really happens in real life, but you never know. And as we get further into the game, you will see different enemies that different patterns as they move around. You do have a punch button if they get close, but it doesn't really do much damage whatsoever. And don't shoot the hostages, it's going to take life off of you. And I'm not sure what the life of is. It looks just like a big bottle of moonshine, but maybe that's how this guy gets his life. In a few parts in the game, you're going to get basically a pseudo first-person shooter as well. The screen's going to pivot, and you're going to have enemies in the background, which mirrors other Taito games we've talked about on the channel in the past. It isn't a lot, but it does break up the action ever so slightly and give you something a little bit different to do versus what you've already been doing, and that's always a smart design decision. If you've been going left or right a little too much and you want to see something different, the designers give you a new look of the game right around the 4 to 5 minute mark, so that you do get to see a little bit of a mix. Sometimes the screen will lock and you just have a gigantic rush of enemies, and I'm not sure what type of computer that is there, but it looks like it has 5¼ inch floppy drives, so I'm going to assume that's a PC98, at least in my imagination. But leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think that PC is there. Doesn't look like a scanner, definitely has those drives. But again, this is just one of those games. It is of its time and place. It is not very deep as far as the gameplay is concerned. You can do 2 players, and that is very effective. One of you can manage the left side of the screen and one of you can manage the right. But it is one of those games where you just play it, you experience it, you have a good time, and maybe you never actually come back to it. You saw it once and that was enough. But for the 20 some odd minutes you're going to spend with this game, you're going to have an absolute blast. And of course, it is an action movie sort of game, so you're going to have a junkyard level. Seems like every single criminal and every single action movie has something to do with the junkyard, is where the dregs of society go to run their crime syndicates. At least apparently it is to me. And if you enjoyed this one, you should play Dead Connection, also from Taito. It was released in 1992 and basically takes the first person sort of pseudo view of this game and makes almost an entire game out of it. It's one of my favorites of all time. I did a video about 4 years ago, so it's probably time to revisit that game on the channel actually. But as we move into this junkyard here, we have all of these just suspended platforms. Don't know what they're doing from an architectural stance, and don't know why there's magnets and lamps in the building, but if you do shoot a lamp, it will break and you will go into the dark for a little bit, which is a nice look. But all you need to do is basically navigate the game and avoid the bullets, which is very easy in the first couple levels, but towards the end of the game, it becomes absolutely absurdly difficult if you're as a one-player experience. But again, it's a Taito game. The soundtrack is a 10 out of 10, so go ahead and listen for like 35 seconds and I'll be right back. If there's one thing Taito always did well, it is a soundtrack. Whether it's Zuntata or any other of their musical teams within the company, a game could be terrible like Dino Rex, but the music would still be a straight 10 out of 10, and Crime City is no different. You will see here that I've got that guy in that punch dagger. It basically makes you invulnerable, but it is going to slow you down, and when you get to later screens, there's going to be so many enemies on screen at once, you're never going to know where they're coming from. Like this boss right here with the flamethrower, he sneaks up on you and burns you to a crisp. But basically every boss in this game is going to be pattern based. Once you understand you can duck down and shoot, then you need to jump up and shoot as well while avoiding that Molotov cocktail. Once you understand the patterns, the bosses basically become free. So if you actually do practice on this game, you'll get very good very quickly. But I love that we're looking for the mayor here. Pretty much every game you're either trying to find a woman, the mayor, or you're fighting as the mayor, something like Final Fight. But mayors are big business in arcade games, and it's no different here in Crime City. And I love those dudes' vertical leaps as well. People in this game can jump like they're an NBA Hall of Famer. It doesn't make any sense, but it does work as far as the movement around the screen is concerned. And now we get a little bit of a Terminator vibe here with these robotic laser guns coming from the ceiling that we're definitely going to have to shoot because they are part of the boss battle here. But I love this game graphically as well for 1989, especially when the lights go out. It's got a lot of nice gradient on the background there, a little bit of dot in the texture. It does look really nice, especially as a game that came out in the 80s. If you were on a home console, you'd get nothing like this whatsoever, and that's probably why it was never ported. NES could definitely not handle this game in its full format here. But now that we've rescued the hostage, we get to go on to the next area, and again, just like that pseudo first-person shooting section, we now are able to go up and down in real time on this elevator to shoot enemies coming from both screens. It basically just breaks up the gameplay and gives you something new to see. But I'm going to give you one more sample of the soundtrack with a little less gunfire because again, I think this music is just a 10 out of 10. Listen and I'll be right back. I have no idea what crime syndicate can afford a helicopter, let alone use it in a battle, but you just shot down a helicopter while using an elevator that basically looked like you were up there to wash windows. As we get to the last stage here, I will say that this game can be unfairly hard towards the later levels. You cannot avoid death. If anyone can 1cc this game, I would be highly impressed, but I'm sure someone out there has already done it. But it is here to steal your quarters. It is called Crime City, and Taito was definitely committing grand larceny on your pocket because you're going to spend about like 10 credits just to see the end of this game in the last level alone. Now I'm sure if I practice I could probably get that down to 5 or so, but it's still going to be absolutely brutal, especially when you get to this final boss here. He's able to shoot through these barrels sometimes but not other times, and it doesn't really make much sense as the context of when it works. But I love that it's just an old dude who's bald on top, basically has a skullet and a bazooka that's shooting cannonballs. And don't forget, this is part of the Chase HQ franchise, which just really just feels like a knockoff Lethal Weapon. So many games back in the day had the buddy cop format, one white dude, one black dude, and that is Riggs and Murtaugh if I've ever seen them. But of course we never really got a Lethal Weapon arcade game, and that seems like a big miss. If anyone's listening and you want to make a new Lethal Weapon game, I will definitely go to the arcades and play the ever-loving hell out of it for no reason other than it would be fun to see. But this game is just an absolute blast. It doesn't take long to play whatsoever, but you enjoy your entire time with it when you're playing it. I don't know how they fit that dog in a barrel, but they did. So if you see any barrels today, be careful. There might be an attack dog jumping out of it. And the guy that we just shot looks almost identical to the guy that we just saved. But that is Crime City. It's one of those titles, maybe you've never heard of it. I'm assuming most people haven't. But when you actually pick up and play it, it is a ton of fun. And I love this character screen at the end as well. You get all of the different sprites for all of the different characters in the game, and you just get to check them out as we drive away. Don't know if they're going into SCI, criminal termination, in that car, because that game did come second after this, so it's possible that they're just driving to their next adventure. But Taito made an absolute metric crap ton of arcade games back in the day. Some of them are definitely more well known than others, and I would say Crime City is one of those games that people probably don't really know about. But if you've ever played it, if you know where there's an arcade cabinet, leave me a comment down below because I would be very curious. I'm assuming that this game, at least in North America, is probably pretty extinct, but maybe Galloping Ghost has a board on their floor. I'm going to be going out there soon, so I'll let you know in Twitter if I find one. But it's definitely one of those games, if you've never heard of it before, you should check it out. You can tell they put a lot of love into the game, and that's all we can ever ask from developers. But if you want to honestly do a trilogy, play Chase HQ, play this one, and then play SCI after that. And if you got time for a fourth game, play Chase HQ 2. And it does give you a high score screen at the end, and you're able to enter your initials. And don't forget, folks, I am a mature married adult that never does anything stupid whatsoever, including writing 69 on the initial screen. But if it lets me do it, you know damn well I'm going to. That's the video. Go play and write your own ridiculousness in the credits. See you next time. Bye bye.